for the Instagram story real quick? Just
What do you want?
I'll take a picture. Ready? One, two, three. Thank you.
Okay, you're
We're
welcome. I
so
think we're live.
cute.
Hi, Jackie.
I don't know what happened to the picture. It's literally.
Oh no. That is so funny.
Hi, Jackie.
Why
Let me
does it
pop chat
say?
out. Live chat? Yeah.
It looks like people are joining, but
Hi,
oh,
Keely.
there we go. There it is. Okay, it's live.
Our biggest
Hi,
fan.
Keely.
Okay, can we take the picture one more time? You guys are going to see this happen in real time.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay, me right here. Okay, one, two, three. Okay,
I hear us somewhere. I've got to mute it.
you guys, we haven't done this in a long time.
Yeah, we're a little
We're
rusty.
new here. I think my mom's still trying to get it up on the TV too.
Okay.
We're all trying to get back into the groove. I want to know how Keely's shoes are working out, how those AFOs are. How are your feet? Sorry, guys. Let me.
It's been a little while.
We're all set on your end, right?
I think so. Yeah, it looks like everything is live, and
I'm
we definitely have
just
people here, so I
gonna
think we're good.
share the link on Instagram real
Oh,
quick.
braces are hard to get used to.
They're hard. Does
Yeah.
it I'm sure it causes some pain.
Hmm.
You have to like choose between the pain of without the brace and the pain of with the brace.
Yeah, it's tough.
It's like with when my calf muscle tears and then I put the okay, she's got it. When my calf muscle tears and I have to wear the boot and it causes so many other problems for my foot, but it helps my calf muscle.
Got to choose between one thing and another.
The camera pic my camera quality of our thing looks awful, so don't mind it. It's not you or me when you see
Okay.
it, because I'm gonna mention you.
Awesome. I always forget that I have Instagram. I need to use it.
It's okay. I do Instagram and then you do the YouTube,
Yeah. Yep.
just kind of bald spots. So,
Are you ready?
I guess so. Should we just jump right on in? I mean, the last
Yeah.
time that Katie and I did this, it does say three waiting.
Why are they waiting?
I don't know. Maybe if I refresh it. Oh,
Mhm.
yes. Oh, okay.
We're good?
Hi.
Okay.
Yeah, it was my computer. We do have
Okay.
people.
Hi, everybody.
Yes. So it's been a long time since you guys have heard from us, and we have both been through a lot, as I know many of you have been following our journeys through social media. So we're just kind of gonna go right into it. And this is gonna be the first time I talk about what happened to me, like
Yeah.
verbally, today live,
Mhm.
and then Katie's gonna share more also. So
Yeah.
since you went first,
In
uh
real life.
yeah, so tell us what happened to you after our last live.
Oh my God. I keep thinking about how wild it is that, like, we were literally talking about a comment on our YouTube channel or on the YouTube live stream. I mean, that was like, stop talking about this. You get what you put out in the world. Do you remember that?
I don't.
Oh gosh, I've thought about that comment so much. And we were talking about it and we were like, that's kind of mean. You know, like, we just got to talk about our lives.
Yeah, I know I jinxed myself for sure.
And then a few hours later, I was in the hospital. Um, so that day, I had a kidney infarction about, I don't know, a couple hours after our live stream was over. It wasn't long. Um, so my renal artery dissected and I lost part of my kidney. It's still in there, but it didn't get enough blood flow after the dissection to survive, and they decided to just kind of leave it be. Um, I have a video where I go more in depth on it, so I don't want to like bore you with all the details, but it was really really hard. Like that is the worst pain I think I've ever been in my life, and I'm still dealing with some emotional stuff after the
Sure.
hospital stay. The hospital stay was really, really rough, and my pain wasn't really under control for a few days. And so it was like the worst pain I've ever had, and also undermanaged. Like, here's a lidocaine patch. And I was
Oh
like,
my gosh, just the
yeah,
lighting patch?
they forgot to put in my pain meds. And in the middle of the night, I was in excruciating pain, and the nurse was like, here's some, we can give you ice packs, and here's a lidocaine patch.
Oh my
You don't have meds
gosh.
in your chart for pain meds. And I was like, I remember telling her, I'm like, my kidney is dying.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think the lidocaine patch is going to touch it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
No pain, no gain from Athos Rock.
Who is that? I haven't seen that name in 84 years.
Jackie, you're so funny. Did your brother come down and yell at them for you? Yes, he did. Because also another thing is that right before that event, Jake and I had done our podcast interview, but it wasn't live yet. And so then when our podcast interview went live a couple weeks later, that's Jake. Okay, he's revealing himself. Jake is at the struck. Um, after, yeah, then we just didn't. It was funny because he was talking in the interview about how frustrating these hospital stays can be. And
Yeah,
then
I'm sure from the perspective of a family member who might feel helpless seeing their loved one suffer for no reason,
it was horrible.
it's a lot of feelings.
He has a
So
lot of feelings.
there's a lot to unpack from just the small amount of what you said.
Yeah,
So
but more happened.
you're right, it's not even the end of the story. It still continues.
Hey,
So
Adriana.
hi, Adri's one of my cousins.
Oh,
It's
hi.
okay. We're literally just diving in. So
Yeah, it took us a
we're
little while.
yeah, we're technologically challenged for a bit, but I wanted to ask Katie because she said after our last live she had a renal infarct.
Hmm.
So did your pain come on suddenly? Like, because
Oh, yeah.
you were fine during our live,
I was fine
and
during the
then
live. I was all set to have a great day playing with music. And I had, ironically, I sat like here and I was going to, like, there's a song about VEDS that I wrote. And I was all ready to record it and like play around with it in GarageBand. And I got through the like part of the first recording of the song, and I started getting this really, really intense pain in my flank.
Hmm.
And I was like, that doesn't feel right, but I got to get this taken, right? So I'm like singing about VEDS, and I'm having a VEDS event.
Oh my gosh.
And it didn't take long for me to realize, like, I'm not making it through this song. So I had to stop the recording and yeah, like yell for my husband. It was intense though. It was intense pain, sudden onset, and then I know that we have Keely here, so I don't want to scare kids. I don't know how much to share, but it was pretty painful. And then it became really obvious that I had a kidney infarct.
And so what made you decide to go to the emergency room?
Oh, there was no question.
Just the pain.
Yeah, yeah, it was the pain, and I was um, okay, she's fine. Okay, thanks, Jackie. I just wanted to make sure to be cognizant of that. So I peed blood, and I knew that
Hmm.
that's like with the flank pain, the sudden onset, knowing I have VEDS and that my arteries are prone to dissect, and then peeing blood. Those were like, I'm having a kidney infarction, and I was yelling for my husband to call 911
Hmm.
and then call my geneticist, Peter Byers. And I remember being on the couch and I heard Peter's voice on speakerphone and I was like, kidney infarction, kidney infarction. Like I was telling everybody I
I
had a
wish we could
kidney
have
infarction.
buttons like intestine, vascular.
Right. This is what it is. And the ER did really good. Like they just kicked into gear and did everything they were supposed to do. I got pain meds in the ER, and that really helped. Um, and then the hospital stay was outrageous.
Yeah.
And then while I was in the hospital, it was spontaneous, Adriana. It was spontaneous. So there was nothing I did to cause it, and I kept thinking about, was it the cup of coffee in the morning? Was it? It obviously wasn't me playing the guitar
Was
and
it the
singing,
guitar?
right?
Was I just going too
Right,
hard?
right. Like I still haven't. I honestly have not had the desire to play a lot of music since, and I've not gone back to that recording. But I
Because
feel
your
like
brain
it's
like
coming.
associates.
Yeah. So I mean, for a while, I didn't want to come in here at all. Like when I finally got okay with being in this room and being in this chair, like I didn't reorganize, but I started doing fun things in here so that it would kind of remap that brainwave of like
Yeah.
bad stuff happened in here. Oh yeah, Jake says we decided it was sleep that causes VEDS. Yeah.
It's like chicken and the
So
egg.
like chicken, yeah. So I'm doing better with it now, and I feel like the music is coming on, but I'm doing a lot of art now. And I'll work my way back to music when I feel good about it. But while I was in the hospital, I also had a gallbladder attack and an iliac artery dissection. And now I still don't have full blood flow to my leg from the iliac dissection. And I had a scan recently caused by a sudden impact at the dog park that, provided this impetus to get a scan.
Stand.
Yep. And they pretty much scanned me from head to toe because two dogs ran into me at full speed at the dog park and knocked me off my feet. And it was definitely something wrong with my knee. So I tore my MCL during that. But because they scanned all my arteries, they found that I also have a hepatic artery dissection. So that's the liver. And my iliac dissection has actually doubled in size. It's not stable.
Oh,
So I have a scan on April 11th in a few days to see if those things are stabilizing or still growing, and then we'll have to talk about surgical options. So it's been a trip,
been a lot of up and down.
a lot of up and down. And Maura says, "I hope it's not sleep. That's what my daughter does best and most."
Same. I love sleeping.
It's not sleep. It's
So
best.
it's VEDS. It's just existing, VEDS
Hmm.
existing.
Yep.
And so when you were in the hospital for that first time, did you have any surgeries at all? Like how did they treat
No.
the infarct? No
No,
surgery.
the we decided it would be best to just I have two kidneys and the other one doesn't have an infarct, knock on wood. Um, and we decided it would be best to just let it do its thing and then wait it out. So the treatment was all supposed to be pain management.
And it was caused by a dissection?
Yes. So the renal artery dissected, and it actually dissected around like a not a corner, but like when it splits.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a little pseudoaneurysm on each side of the split,
Oh,
like at the
wow.
branch too.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Okay.
that's what it was caused
So
by. So the dissection caused like limited blood flow it to one of the artery branches that supplies blood to the kidney, and then the pain is caused by the kidney dying basically because it's not getting enough blood.
not oxygen.
Yeah, and so it was like, I was there for a day and a half or two and then got discharged and then the pain came back suddenly, so that was the dissection getting worse and more of the kidney dying, and then I was in the hospital for another few days after that.
Okay. And so how did they find the iliac dissection?
I had an extreme pain event, which was the gallbladder attack, and incidentally on that CTA that they did for whatever was, that intense
Yeah.
pain event, they found that I had an iliac dissection. So it was not there when I went into the hospital. It was an incidental finding during my hospital
Incidental findings.
stay.
So you didn't really have pain in that area.
Mm-mm. Nope. And my
So
vascular surgeon recently said that it could have been like the gallbladder, I guess, is along the same nerve line that iliac artery is. and
Oh,
so that it's possible that I felt my iliac pain where my gallbladder
like it
is.
radiated up there.
Yeah,
That's
that like it's very
interesting.
possible that that's actually what I was feeling because and we didn't do anything for the gallbladder either. Like everything was just like scan, see what's going on. Wait,
Yeah.
yeah.
And why wouldn't they want to do anything for the gallbladder?
I don't think they did refer me to a general surgeon to discuss it, but I've had this huge gallstone for years, and it was kind of odd. Like to me, it just was odd that it would be causing a problem now while I was in the
uh,
hospital. And so I decided, like, I don't think they wanted to do emergency surgery on me because it had stabilized, but I think they didn't want to like poke anything and make anything worse because I had so much going on.
yeah.
There's a couple questions in here I'm gonna address. So Maura asks, what's the difference between an aneurysm and a pseudoaneurysm? A pseudoaneurysm is caused by a dissection. So if you think about, think about an artery. There are three layers to the artery wall. So like, think about it like a tube with like three layers like wrapped around it. When an aneurysm happens, all three layers expand. And when a pseudoaneurysm happens, it's because the inner wall of the artery has torn and blood is going through that and can cause a pseudoaneurysm. So other than that, like they're both aneurysms, but one is caused by a dissection,
Yeah.
is my
They're
understanding.
balloonings of the artery.
Yep.
So they are the same thing. Just different etiologies, I guess you could
Yeah.
say.
Yep.
Different layers of the artery are impacted.
Yeah. Jackie asks if I'm expected to get more blood flow to my leg. So I definitely was expected to do that. My treatment for the iliac dissection was, go home and walk and just like continue to walk until, because what happens when you don't have enough blood flow to your leg is that once you start walking, hey Caitlin, hey Red, once you start walking, you don't have enough blood flow to the leg anymore. And so everything gets really sore and achy, and that's called claudication pain
Hmm.
when you don't have enough blood flow to it. And my claudication pain was really like almost instantaneous when I would start walking at the
So
hospital.
then you can't walk.
Right. And so
That
the
helps you.
treatment, right. So then the treatment is to continue to push it, like you force it to the point where like you really, you're not crying in pain or anything, but you are significantly sore, and then you stop and you let the leg recover and you just, wait for the blood flow to go back to it at rest, and then you do it again. And so once I
Mm.
got home, the treatment plan for the iliac dissection was to do that over and over and over again, and my blood vessels should form like other pathways around that dissection to provide blood flow to the leg. And so we thought that that's what was going to help, but I don't think we realized until the scan, like we had missed that the iliac dissection had actually doubled in size, even though I was getting monitored with an MRA. The radiologist reports and everything just said it was stable, and I think we took them
Mm.
at their word. And
Hmm.
so when we had the CTA in March when I tore my MCL, that was like, okay, this is why you're not feeling better, kind of thing. So,
Wow.
yeah,
So for your dissection, when you say that it doubled in size, did it,
both.
the artery itself double or did it double in length, the tear?
So I think it doubled in length and the artery is expanding. So
Okay. So there's both.
the blood vessel is widening. So I don't know if I don't think it's aneurysmal, but it's dilating. And the dissection has actually spread like
Yeah,
further
more.
down. Yeah.
So the iliac arteries feed the legs. The
Yeah.
main artery goes into the iliacs and then feeds the legs, like
Yeah.
upside down Y.
Yes, that's a great way.
And what was I going to ask you? Well, you do have a question about
I do.
compression socks.
I was not told to wear compression socks for this. I don't know if compression socks help with moving the blood or not. I don't know the answer to that. I know that compression socks help with varicose veins, but I
Mhm.
don't have any of those. So I
You don't
don't
have
usually
any leg
wear,
swelling.
no, I don't have any other than like yeah, I don't think that that's a treatment for an iliac dissection, but I really don't know. I don't
Yeah.
have any other reason to wear them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was a lot, a lot of up and downs, a lot of mixed emotions. And
Oh, yeah. The last few months have been something. Like, and I think something really significant I experienced after this hospitalization was really, really intense depression, which I've talked about in a video on my channel. But I really, really struggled this time to get back to doing Rose says give you one positive, no leg swelling. Yay.
although sometimes when our limbs swell, I kind of look normal sized, so my legs aren't as skinny.
Jake says underwater cave diving for compression. That's funny. That's a callback to something we were talking about yesterday. Jake and I are starting another podcast. We were
Ah.
talking about a book that we read about underwater cave diving. But yeah, I think the depression was really intense. And then around the end of December or the beginning of January, I decided like I needed to do something I really loved. And the guitar and singing was not doing it. I was not into that. And I was really, really just struggling really hard. And I decided to start playing my euphonium again, which is like a small tuba. And I got my vascular surgeon's sign off for that because I know that's a little scary.
Yeah, yeah. And
Um,
how would that be scary for a VEDS person?
I think that I think generally it's scary because if you are you could potentially be putting a lot of pressure on your lungs, which are prone to collapse, and, potentially blood pressure. I don't really know, and
Mm.
I don't want to monitor my blood pressure while I'm doing it, so I just don't want to know.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's the fear with it.
Yeah, okay.
And I've never had a lung collapse. And I've been playing euphonium for the majority of my life, knock on
Knocking on wood
wood.
for you.
Yep, but I did recently stop doing that about 2 or 3 weeks ago when I found out when the MCL happened, and then I found out about these aneurysms, like the hepatic aneurysm and the doubling of the iliac one. Then I got kind of scared, so I'm not doing that until after April 11th when I know more about
About
what's
what's
going to
going
happen.
on.
Yep,
Okay.
but that's it
And
right there in that container.
oh my gosh. So how do you feel when you hear the news that you have a new aneurysm, that your dissection has grown? Like
Oh,
what are the thoughts?
I
Like,
was simultaneously mad and scared and really convinced that I was going to die this year. Like, those are all the three feelings I think that came through my mind.
mm-hmm.
And I was like, man, this could be it. And I've been trying to shake off that feeling specifically because we don't know, and these are
Right.
treatable things. And I've got a great vascular surgeon at a great hospital, and you know, there's not really a lot of reason why I shouldn't survive this.
Yeah.
But I think at first, I kept focusing on the number of aneurysms I have now, which is 7. And
Yeah.
that is just a really scary thing.
Yeah.
And
It is.
yeah.
Especially after you have continuously, like you haven't really had a break. So it's just gonna feel, it feels like it's just gonna keep, what is the word? Like skyballing? Is that the word?
Yeah, like snowballing.
Snowballing.
Yeah.
We're not good with these things,
We
these
aren't.
terms. Yeah, that's what it feels like. Like it feels like it's never gonna get better. It's just gonna keep turning into something else and something else and
Hmm.
something else. And it's hard to get out of that thinking.
Oh, yeah. And so I did a lot of like, my friend came to visit me, one of my friends that has VEDS, and we had a lot of fun that weekend. And
Oh,
I just did a lot of like, I didn't work again for a couple weeks. So I was like, I'm not doing this. Couldn't do it. I just can't. When I feel like that, I don't want to sit by my computer. I just have this intense, like, if I'm going to die, I don't want to be by the computer. And it's just like a weird feeling that I have. But I got through it, and I'm doing lots of things on the computer that I really like, and I'm doing a lot of art. And I think that the thing that snapped me out of it was going and trying a new art medium
hmm
because I was feeling really uninspired. So I went and got not alcohol inks. I got acrylic inks and pens, which I've never really worked with, and I've been having a blast with those.
Is that what you've been doing the dog drawings with?
No, those are colored pencil.
Oh, those are just colored pencil.
Yeah. But if
I'm not
anybody wants a
artistic.
portrait of those, go to sillybugstudios.com and
Shameless
I'd be
plug.
more than happy to do a portrait of your animal or your kid.
You should put it in the chat, in the
I
yeah.
will. Okay, let me put it in there.
And I wanted to mention you could type that I wanted to bring up the importance of having your team, like your vascular surgeon, cardiologist, looking at your scans
Mm-hmm.
themselves instead of
Yeah.
taking the radiologist report for what it says. I think that both of us have um, teams that kind of can do that automatically. But I think that as somebody who has VEDS, it's something that you've had to learn to like advocate for, ask for. Even our doctors learned, or they actually have a preference to just look at the scans themselves to make
Mm-hmm.
sure that nothing's missed because things do
Yeah.
get missed.
Yeah, they do. They do.
Yeah.
So you want to talk about what happened to you?
Oh, yeah. I think I'm ready. I
Okay.
wanted to try to record it before this so I could let it all out, but I was busy making my update videos because yeah. So I was feeling fine also after our live. I did have a rough year last year just with fatigue, and I had my calf muscle tear, I had COVID, like there was a lot just kind of happening last year. And in November, just a few days after our live, I was working from home because my calf muscle tore. So I was working completely from home. And I just remember that I can't remember if I got the pain when I went to the restroom or if I lay down, got the pain, then went to the restroom. Like I
Okay.
don't remember what came first, but I was laying on the couch and then I got sudden pelvic pain. And I've never had pelvic pain. Like my colon has perforated before and it was more lower left side abdomen. Um, sorry, distracted by question. My eyes like squirrel.
We like questions, though.
Yes.
Do you ever
All
feel
the
like
time.
doctors don't believe you or you have pain and they skip over anything? Yeah, I felt like that with my iliac dissection because I kept going to my appointments and being like, yeah, the claudication pain is still there. And I kept hearing, well, you shouldn't have any. It's not flow limiting. And I'm like, the doctor at the hospital told me that it was flow limiting. And then, well, oh yeah, I guess it is flow limiting. And then
Ugh.
it's just like, ugh.
Yeah.
But I don't know about, I think when I think they really believed me when I was in pain in the hospital, but I don't know why they didn't do anything about it. And then, or didn't do the right thing about it. They did try lots of things. Um,
Same for mine.
they really try. I know why. They tried to avoid opioids
Yeah.
because of my risk of bowel perforation and because the scans showed that my GI system was so backed up. But I live in a state of constantly being behind where I should be for my GI
Well,
system,
backlogged.
a little backlogged. And yeah, I think they were being overly cautious, but my blood pressure was higher than normal and I was inconsolable as far as pain. And I think at that point they probably should have done something a little sooner.
Right. Right. And it's kind of like they wait for
Mm.
it to get to that point before they're like, oh, okay, like let's try
Yeah,
something more. When I've been taught in nursing school, and even some nurses say that, it's better to get on top of the pain before it comes back so strong. Like it's better to have it
right.
controlled. So there's a lot of differing perspectives on pain control in
Yeah.
medicine, which
Well,
is
what's amazing is
unfortunate.
I've been to pain management before when they were treating my neck pain and not knowing that it was a carotid artery dissection before my diagnosis. And there was like no reason for my pain, you know? But they told me that too. Like the pain management doctor said it's always good to just, get into a routine with your pain management so that you're not,
Yeah.
treating worsening pain is harder than treating mild pain and preventing it from getting worse.
Yeah.
So you were saying you
Yes.
had this
So
pelvic pain.
I had the pelvic pain and it kind of felt, it didn't feel like period cramps, but it was just in a weird spot that I was thinking maybe, like my mom and I were thinking maybe it was an ovarian cyst that was bothering me. It was just
Mhm.
something different. And I wasn't feeling like constipated before this happened. I wasn't as mobile because of my calf muscle tear. So maybe that like contributed to things getting stuck. But I called my mom to let her know I'm gonna go to the emergency room. And I was like, I'm just gonna go just to make sure everything's okay. I was feeling like maybe it'll be okay. Maybe it's just some inflammation that's going on. I say just inflammation, but that's better than like a perforation dissection, you know?
Yeah.
Even though the inflammation can lead to all that stuff down the
Mhm.
line. And so I packed a bag because I kind of had a feeling that maybe I would be there overnight. And I drove myself to the emergency room because the pain hadn't gotten that bad yet. And it's just like I don't have to get on a freeway or anything. I just drive up the street to the hospital
Yeah.
and there's valet parking. So I left my truck there. I was actually stuck behind a lot of cars because cars without people because they were waiting for the valet to move
Oh,
them. So I was
yeah.
starting to get antsy because the pain was actually starting to come back a lot. And at that point, I called my mom and I was like, you need to come because she lives in a different city than me. I
Mhm.
was like, I knew that it was something that I was going to need to be admitted for.
Yeah.
And so she stayed on the phone with me while she was trying to find her flight. And I had to like get down and wave at the valet guy to be like, and I was like crying. I was like, I need
Mhm.
to get inside to the emergency room now. And so they just waved me and they took my truck and I went inside, I checked in and I waited like an hour before they took me back to get triaged, just to get
Oh,
triaged, just for them to like to do the intake with me before, we get called back for whatever tests and stuff they ordered. And I don't have any friends or family here, like close friends or family, which I do have people I could call, but I don't like to bother people.
right.
And so since I had gone like at 4 in the afternoon, my work is connected to the hospital. So I called, work people, but one didn't answer. And then my mom ended up calling another one of my coworkers and
Mm.
she met me in the emergency room. So, anyways, it took me a long time to get back. I had to go up to them and be like, hey, I have history of intestine perforation and I have really bad abdominal pain. And then they took me in to get triage. Like I was
Yeah.
the next person. They hadn't called anybody back in an hour. So, anyways, I was in the emergency room, like in a room,
Mhm.
and I was starting to get like feral
Yeah.
because the pain was so awful. And I wasn't comfortable in any position. I wasn't comfortable sitting. I wasn't comfortable laying down. I remember when my coworker came in, like I was just laying on the bed, like just hovering over it because that was the only way that felt comfortable. Um, and they gave me, I don't know when they started giving me pain meds, but they gave me like the really strong stuff, and that didn't help
Yeah.
the pain at all. Two different variations of it. They would not touch the pain. I guess they took me for the CT scan and they confirmed that it was an intestine perforation.
Mhm.
And at that point, I mean, I knew just because the pain was so
Yeah.
awful.
Did
And
you know that it was a intestinal perforation, or were you worried about an aneurysm or dissection?
no, I knew it was like organ. Oh, I mean, I guess arteries kind of like I knew it was intestine, like
Related.
ovary, something GI, I guess,
Yeah.
reproductive. I
Okay.
did not I did not feel that it was vascular. And it's because I've had so many GI issues
Right.
before. Like I just know these pains.
Mhm.
And yeah, they confirmed on the CT scan that it was a perforation. Um, and they were actually going to put me on a ketamine drip
Mm.
because that was supposed to be like the only thing that would help with the pain, but they didn't want to do it until I was in a room upstairs. So I was stuck with pain while they're trying to figure out everything, and they wanted to see if the perforation would heal on its own,
Yeah.
because doctors don't want to go in when we're in that state of inflammation and everything because it's just a very tough surgery to do
Yeah.
when it's all, messed up in there.
Chaos
So
in there.
chaos. Yeah. And so finally they ended up agreeing to start me on the ketamine drip. My
Mhm.
mom got there and a lot of it is kind of a blur now, but I think the dad tried to stabilize me for about 2 days,
Hmm.
and then I started getting septic. And so I had to be rushed into emergency surgery.
Can you
And
describe the symptoms of
yeah,
sepsis?
I all I know is that, and this is gonna be TMI, but I'm gonna do it for the education.
Yes.
Um, all I remember is that the nurse was in there. I was in ICU, the nurse was checking on me, and he was like, everything's good, or she, and then I was like, you know, step out. And as soon as they're out the door, I looked at my mom and I was like, I don't feel good.
Mm,
I don't know what it was, but I was just like, I don't feel good. And I started vomiting and stuff coming out
okay.
fast from the butt at the
Yeah.
same time. And my mom said that the vomit was like stool, like it looked like stool coming out.
Mm, yeah.
And so she ran out to go get the nurse wasn't there anymore. There was a team of doctors that were rounding. She went to go ask them to come help, and they had to go in, and my blood pressure was dropping, like it was
Mm,
tanking. And all I remember is that they had to tilt the bed so my head was down and my feet were up. That way the blood can go to my brain.
yeah. Yeah.
And I just remember being there kind of loopy, not feeling good.
Oh.
Yeah, and then they took me into the emergency surgery where I ended up getting what's called a Hartman's procedure.
Mhm.
So they took out a small piece of my large intestine. Um, and then they connected the large intestine to my abdomen through
Mhm.
what's called a stoma, and I have a colostomy bag now. So now instead of the stool going all the way like out through to the rectum, the rectum is disconnected, and
Yeah.
then I have the bag now that collects the poop.
Yeah.
So that was
And so
surgery
that
one.
was that's surgery one because I know you had a lot of them and you were in the hospital for what, a total of a couple months?
Um, it was 35, 36 days.
Okay, it felt like forever
Yeah, it
from
did.
this side. I mean, I can't imagine what it felt like for you.
And
For
honestly,
me,
I
it
was
felt
so
like
sick.
forever. I was,
I just was not even like antsy to go home.
yeah.
I was just so out of it and so sick. And so the recovery, I guess, from the surgery was hard. I was not present in this world because I was ventilated. And my parents were saying that every time they tried to take the vent out, I would start like blood pressure dropping. I
Yeah.
wouldn't be able to handle the breathing on my own. And then I finally got off the vent, I think like 3 or 4 days after the surgery. So then
Mhm.
the next week, I don't even think it was a full week, my incision wound. So I still have, so if this is like my abdomen, right? The
Mhm.
colostomy bag is over here. And
Mhm.
then they had to go down the middle for the incision to actually open me up and take things out and reconnect. So my incision um, split open, which is a
Mm.
complication of VEDS, is we're prone to what's called wound dehiscence. So I was coughing a lot from post surgery, and I also had bilateral pleural effusion, so I had fluid in and around my lungs,
Mhm.
and that force from the coughing actually like caused the incision to just split open on its
Mhm.
own. I was just so swollen, and they said that I was like a beach ball, my abdomen, and um, they had to take me back into an emergency surgery to fix that
Yeah.
because it was such an open wound, and um, they had to clean it up, and they ended up putting a mesh. I don't really understand the mesh, but it basically covers my intestines.
Mhm.
And I had a tear in my small intestine. It wasn't like a complete hole perforation, but it was a tear on the outer layer.
Okay.
They don't know if it was from the first surgery or if they did it when they opened me up for the second
Okay.
one. So they had to
Did
fix
that need
that.
anything?
Yeah, they had to
They
fix
fixed it?
that. I don't know. They just like patched it up since it was just the outer layer.
Okay.
And then they actually had to consult an abdominal wall specialist. So the same surgeon had taken me back to surgery, but he was like, I'm going to call in this guy because
Mhm.
like he acknowledged how complicated the first surgery was. And he even told us, the first surgeon, like this was the most difficult, if not the most difficult surgeries I've ever done.
Yeah.
And they said I was very sick. And I don't think the prognosis looked well at the beginning. And so, anyways, he consulted the abdominal wall specialist. I had two surgeons in my second surgery, and the abdominal wall guy, he's the one that put the mesh. And he said that when they were trying to close my abdomen back up, that the muscle fascia, so like the muscle tissue that protects the abdomen, was just crumbling apart in their hands. Like they were trying to pull it together, and it would
Yeah.
just fall apart, which is something that a lot of us who have had surgery, I think, have heard those terms. Like, our tissues are like butter, or arteries just fall apart. And so, because of that, they decided to leave it open,
Okay.
and um, they put a wound vac on to basically help it close and keep it covered for it to heal. So I had that on for like 8 weeks, 7 weeks.
Were you, did you already have the vent off at that point? Or
I
were you
had to
still
be
under
back
the
on the
vent?
vent. I was out of the
Okay.
vent. The wound split open. They took me back
Oh,
into surgery, back in vent.
yeah.
And then they had a hard time getting me off the vent the second time too. So
Do they keep you sedated while you're on the vent?
yes.
Okay.
Well, yes. I do remember being awake a couple of times. I think when mom, if you could chime in. I
Oh,
I'm gonna answer, what does your rectum do now? Where does it go? It literally just vibes.
I don't see that question.
It's from Athos.
Huh, it didn't show up for me.
Um, yeah, it literally just vibes. And again, this might be TMI, but in case people have had similar experience, stuff still comes out of there. It's not stool, but the surgeons were explaining that the lining of the intestines sheds, and so that can still come out of
Hmm.
the rectum, because that little piece of intestine that's just hanging there, you know. And yeah, so we're now disconnected. I could in the future get them reconnected and get rid of the bag, but that's a story for another time. So yeah, second surgery was also difficult, and my wound actually started kind of splitting after the second one as well.
Yeah.
And so they actually had to pull the staples off to just let it open, because I was heavily sedated.
Mm-hmm.
I just remember after the first surgery, I remember having to write on a board, or like, and I couldn't even write because I was just so weak. I just remember like I
Yeah.
couldn't see what I was doing. And my poor family, like I would try to, they understood me really well. My sister, my dad,
Mm-hmm.
um, for not being able to communicate. But okay, so that was the second surgery. And then I had those pleural effusions. So then the next week, Bella writing in Simlish. Like Pictionary, trying to guess
Yeah.
what's going on in my brain, because I couldn't talk because of the vent. And now
Yeah.
I actually was scared I was never going to get my voice back again, because
Mm.
one of my vocal cords had gotten damaged
Yeah.
from the vent. I had to do like a swallow test, and they even did a scope in
Oh, those
there
are,
to
do
check it
they go
out.
the one that goes up the nose and back?
Yes,
Oh, those are the worst. I've had a
awful.
few of those and they're like
It was awful.
so uncomfortable.
Yeah, and then I remember they were trying to get me to say E, and I was like,
Yeah.
so yeah, that was in between all of that. I had the lungs to deal with, so I had
Yeah.
um shortness of breath. I couldn't lay flat. I had to like fall asleep like this all the time because I
Just
couldn't
like
be
tight.
laying down. Yeah, my parents invested in a neck pillow for me because so I can sleep like this, because my head
Yeah.
was bobbing everywhere. And I couldn't talk because of the soreness from intubation. Yeah,
Right.
right. Yeah. And I felt like I was gonna get stuck like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't imagine how it feels on the other side of us to, watch us go through this and get these updates, because we were very worried about you too.
I was very worried about you. Like it was constantly on my mind. And
Yeah.
I was so relieved when you got to the other side of this and went home. and I think I remember, oh, this is emotional. I think I remember getting a call from you
I think we
not
talked.
long after I got home, and I was so sad. And you FaceTimed me, or Fran FaceTimed me for you, or something. And I'm like tearing up just thinking about it because I think I cried then. Just seeing you, I was so relieved.
It was hard.
It
Oh
was so
dear.
hard. I love you.
I was doing good, Katie.
So tell us about your lungs.
Yes. So my lungs were so full of fluid that, and they had to do a CT scan. And that was like the most awful thing because I had to lay flat on the really hard CT scan bed and I couldn't breathe. And they're telling me to hold my breath and breathe. It was just rough. But anyways, they had to do what's called a thoracentesis
Mm-hmm.
to drain each lung. So they didn't do them both on the same day just because they knew how delicate I was. So they did the right lung first. 2 days
Yeah.
later, they did the left lung, and they actually drained 900 milliliters from no 800 milliliters from my right lung and
Mm-hmm.
900 milliliters from my left lung.
And that was like, you didn't have did you have a pneumothorax, or did your
No,
lungs just have fluid like you had
they just
pneumonia?
had fluid. Yeah, like it wasn't pneumonia. So it's in
Okay.
the pleural space. So
Mm-hmm.
there's a membrane around the lung that allows it to like stay slick and expand and contract. And there's normally a little bit of fluid in there, like very, very little. And so all the fluid that I had was in that space. So it was squishing my lung. So my lung wasn't able to like do this because of the
Yeah.
fluid around it. So it's just here trying to do its best.
Mm, okay.
Yeah. So it wasn't, I did have a little bit of fluid in my lungs and like atelectasis, which is like a partial lung collapse,
Mm-hmm.
but not a full like pneumothorax,
Okay.
which I was scared of because I didn't know if that could cause the pneumothorax because of how much
Yeah.
stress my lung could be under. And then the thoracentesis, they have to go in with the needle to drain the fluid, and that could cause a lung collapse.
Right.
So it was very scary. We were very nervous for both of those procedures, but
Mm-hmm.
once they were out, the fluid, I felt so much better. Um, and then the next week, I had my last surgery. So it was like a
Okay.
week of all these procedures, and the last surgery was a really cool one because they didn't want to do a skin graft because they know how delicate our bed skin is, and they
Yeah.
weren't sure if the healing would even be great with the skin graft. So there's this new procedure, I guess, that they're trying out with fish skin. So instead of the skin graft, they actually put fish skin around the border of
Yeah.
my wound to try to help it close. So when they did the second procedure or that third procedure or fifth, I guess, if you really want to count it, um, they put the fish skin around, and then he said that I had some tunneling in the wound. So
Mm-hmm.
like deep in the wound, there were little like pockets and tunnels forming, and
Yeah.
he said that that could have caused other problems. So he's glad he found them, and they patched those up in the surgery also.
Good.
And again, I had to be on the vent for that surgery too because they put me under, and he wanted to wait till I was feeling better to get that one done.
Yeah.
But it's cool. Like the fish skin was a really cool
That is a really
product.
cool,
And
interesting thing.
yeah, I had a follow up in clinic with him the next month. He wanted to put more fish skin. And I saw it, and it literally looks like, the backside of salmon, that
Yeah.
silver piece. It literally looks like that when they're putting it on. And then it
Whoa.
just like, it eventually changes to the color of your skin.
That is so
It's
cool.
so crazy.
That is really cool.
Yeah, one of our VEDS friends, he says that I'm part mermaid now. So yeah,
So when did you go home? Like when was the moment you went home? Was
it
that
was
in January?
no, it was
December.
December 13th. It was Taylor Swift's birthday. Taylor Allison Swift.
What did it feel like going home?
Oh, it was emotional. It was so emotional. My mom has a video where we're waiting. So I had a cousin that was in town, and he was there for the week to like help us, and it worked out perfectly because he was able to help us take everything home because I had moved so many rooms in the hospital and we were living there
Yeah.
that we had a lot of stuff to take home. And so At first I wasn't ready. Like I would kind of cry because I felt like they were trying to push me out of the hospital.
Yeah.
But then we got to a point where we're like, okay, we'll feel better healing at home and everything. And this video of my mom, like we're just waiting for my cousin to come get us in the front. And she's like, how do you feel? And I'm like, ah, because I hadn't been outside. I
Right.
hadn't, I missed my bed, my blankets, and it was emotional to be home.
Yeah.
That was the longest hospitalization I've ever had.
Yeah. It was serious.
Yeah.
So serious. I remember seeing videos of you, like Fran would send videos periodically, and I just remember being totally heartbroken
Hmm.
that you were going through that. What
Yeah.
does it feel like now?
So now I am a million times better. I am still going through a lot as well. So, I was home in December. In January, I ended up developing a fistula, which is another VEDS complication.
Mhm.
And what a fistula means, just in general, it's just an opening created between two organs. And so my specific fistula came from the small intestine,
Yeah.
which means, so the small intestine, my anatomy for this particular fistula, my small intestine is running like this. And then this is like my, hold on, let me try to think. Okay, babe, this is my abdomen.
Okay.
Hold on.
Wait.
Sorry, my Brian's not working. Okay, my belly button, right? It's center. I have the incision.
Yeah.
So that's on top. And then the intestine's running like this. This is my
Okay.
skin. This is intestine. There we go.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So my small intestine decided to just stick itself to
Mm.
my skin. And then it created a little hole between the intestine and my wound that's still
Yeah.
trying to close in the middle of the like raw skin. And it formed a tract. So the small intestine is normally, it's more liquid before as it goes through the GI system. And so it just like started spilling out liquid. Like I woke up soaked because
Ooh.
of this. I did not,
Yeah.
there was no warning sign, there's no
Okay.
symptoms, there's no pain, there's no nerve endings in that intestine to like get the pain
Right.
from them forming. And so I ended up in the hospital twice in January because of that fistula. So one was they were trying to get it under control, like as far as to put a bag on it because it was just so full of fluid that nothing would stick. It
Yeah.
would just, none of the bags would work. So I now have a bag to collect that fluid.
Yeah.
Fish, and then the second time was in the hospital was because I was dehydrated from the fistula, and because the
Oh,
small
because you're like
intestine,
leaking out all that fluid.
yeah, it's not getting absorbed back into my body.
Hmm.
So I got dehydrated, and they were trying to figure out the best regimen for the fistula. So at first they had me completely NPO, meaning that I couldn't have food or drinks at all. And I was just getting nutrition by IV. Like I had a what's called a pick line, and they insert it here,
Hmm.
and then it goes to your heart, and then you're just like connected to the food all day
Okay.
or 12 hours, depending on what they order.
Hmm.
And that wasn't working. Like that wasn't really doing much. I got dehydrated. And so when I was back in the hospital the second time from the fistula, they decided to let me try foods. And what they decided to do was have me take Metamucil with
Mm.
every meal to thicken the fluid
Bulk it all
so
up.
that it bypasses the fistula and
Yeah.
continues on through the colostomy because everything was coming out of the fistula and it wasn't coming out of the end of my intestines where it's supposed to.
Oh, it's like taking the easiest route out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So now we seem to have gotten that under control. The fistula was putting out like a liter of fluid every day.
Wow.
We were measuring, and that's not even like that's high output, but people can have more than that
Yeah.
output. And so it's a really fine balance of trying to make sure you're getting the right hydration and nutrients and everything. And my nutrition was low because of everything that happened. And um I was accumulating fluid because my nutrition was low, my
Oh,
my lungs, like it's just a whole
yeah.
pile of everything. And so yeah, so now it's putting out between like, around under 200 milliliters per day.
Hmm.
Colostomies it's actually been working fine since day one for surgery. It's just all these other complications that
Right. Yeah.
that happened, and I am still having problems with my lungs. So I actually had my right lung drained again 2 weeks ago,
Hmm.
because they had just done a follow-up CT scan just to check on everything, and it showed that my right one had a lot of fluid. So they drained 750 milliliters, and I'm gonna get a follow-up CT on Tuesday. We're both gonna have our some follow-ups this week. So I'm gonna get my
Yeah.
follow-up chest CT, and then I'm gonna get a follow-up abdomen pelvis CT
Hmm.
because I have started to feel really bloated. My abdomen's very distended or bloated, and there's a
Hmm.
dent in there. And I
Oh,
I saw my surgeon on Wednesday, and they said that they can feel something in there, whether it's like fluid or scar tissue.
something.
So they want to get that checked out too. So we're still continuing on.
Yeah, we are. Holy cow. So,
But, go ahead.
so you're out of the hospital, though, and that's something to celebrate. But
It's
this
something
is
to
like so
celebrate.
much. It just keeps going and going and going.
Yeah. And like, I'm sure you can relate that it takes forever for the energy to come back
Hmm.
from all of that. I have not once wanted to leave my apartment. Like, I have
No.
not felt stir crazy. I am perfectly fine here because I'm
Yeah.
so tired still.
Hmm.
And I couldn't even talk to people without getting super
I
tired.
remember that. So I had the
Like,
same problem. For
yeah,
a while, like people were like, "Okay, it's been a month since you've been out of the hospital, so I'm calling now because you should have enough energy." And I'm just like, I
yeah,
don't have energy.
uh-huh, uh-huh.
I don't. It took a while.
I didn't even play video games for a long time because I did not have the energy to just to sit up. Like my parents, when they were here, they'd watch movies, and it would take a lot out of me to just sit on the couch
Yeah.
with them because yeah, it
And
was
you have, I think, higher fatigue levels than I do on a regular basis
baseline.
too.
Yeah,
Yeah, your baseline fatigue level, I think, is higher.
yeah,
So this,
and it's a lot worse.
yeah. So are you working?
No, I haven't gone back yet. So I've had all of this time off, and it's been a big debate about whether or not I can go back to work. It's not that I don't want to, but I think after, like, number one, after everything that I've been through, I don't want to like kill myself over working. I want to be able to enjoy my life with the little energy that I have. Like, I don't
Hmm.
want to put all of my energy into work. And even though I like working and I love my job. And then the other part of it is like, I don't think I could handle it anymore physically. Like,
Yeah.
um, it's just too much to like to live. I always say VEDS itself is a full-time job. There's
It
nothing
is.
else I can do.
Yeah. So you're still in that space of trying to decide
Yeah,
what you're gonna do about that.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I have been more active on my investigator pages and
Mm-hmm.
on my gaming streaming too. So,
Hey, why don't you put that in the chat for anybody that likes playing games?
okay,
Shameless plug.
I'll put both. I know. One day I want to merge my personalities, but not today. I have two different personalities.
I've been thinking about doing, actually, I was going to ask my brother to help me figure out how to do it, but I am thinking about live streaming some of my art sometimes
I would love that. I
and just
love
talking
watching people
about,
do art.
you do?
It's
You would watch a live
relaxing.
stream?
I
Okay.
would.
I'm
Yeah.
thinking of the more fun, like not of the color pencil pet portraits, because those like they're so cool. I see you put it in the chat. Go follow her on Twitch.
I
Um,
will say though, just a disclaimer, sorry,
yeah.
mom and Nina and Thea. That I do curse on Twitch.
What?
So, if you want more friendly Bella investigator is the way to go.
I think that with everything that you've been through, you are perfectly allowed to curse. That's my opinion.
And I think we're allowed to have bad moods
Oh yeah, for
for
sure.
sure.
Yep.
Like we're in such ho horrible states and out of our control.
Yes. Oh, Jake says I will help. Thank you. Yeah, Jake keeps telling me that VEDS is a full-time job and that's my job and it's okay for that to be my job.
And it's okay.
Yeah.
And it's hard. It's hard to part with because
Hmm.
it can make you feel useless and like sometimes I feel like I'm taking advantage of the the way life is set up, if that makes sense. Like if
Yeah.
I'm just to step back and say, I can't do this anymore, like I feel like I'm taking advantage of the system, even though it's built to help people like me,
It is built to help people like you.
right? But I just
Yeah.
can't like I don't know.
I don't even want to say it's not. I think it's built to help people who are going through what you're going through. Like, I think even phrasing it as people like you, it just doesn't feel right.
Mm-mm.
That just is not even accurate. And you've been through a ton of stuff. And I think even before you went through this,
I was
you
already
probably could
struggling.
have qualified for disability based on your level of fatigue on a chronic basis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I know we are, it's funny because I feel like we're very self-aware, but we also
Hmm.
are very stubborn.
Yeah.
We don't want to let we don't want to let VEDS win.
Oh no. And I don't think if you chose to apply for disability and got it, I don't think that that's letting VEDS win either. That's like that's just working within what you're able to do in order to enjoy your life despite VEDS.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that yeah, I think we're both finding out that we just want to enjoy life a lot more.
Yeah, I definitely am finding
Moral
that
of this
out.
story. And
Yeah.
everybody should.
Everybody should. That's something that everybody should do. And if you have the energy outside of work to do that,
Yeah,
that's great.
if you have the means to, absolutely.
Right. Yeah.
Let's see. We have,
How do you explain the chronic fatigue to people? Is that something you have had since you were little, or did it come on as you got older?
you want to go first?
Well, I think that your fatigue levels are higher than mine. For my baseline, I think that I've always felt tired, but I didn't know that I had VADS growing up. And I just like pushed through it. And I've also, sometimes to my detriment, when I say like my fatigue levels for a while did not prevent me from basically like living my life and interacting with people and doing my job. I was just constantly like background tired. I don't know how else to describe
Like
that. It was
latent,
just,
I get, well, not latent,
yeah,
but
yeah, like it was just kind of always
like
there, like
low, well,
low
not low, but
level,
lurking.
lurking fatigue. Yeah, that's a great way to describe it because there were days, like I remember I was just always tired. It was just kind of there in the background. But then there were days where it was like, girl, you ignored how tired you were for this long, and now you're going to be in bed all day.
Yes.
Like it would just come on with like, oh, okay. But I also did not help myself because through college, I worked a full-time job and had a full-time class load for most of 6 years. So I really wasn't helping myself with
Yeah.
that at all. So there were a lot of times during, like, I think that was when it was most pronounced, other than after this recent hospitalization, that, like, it's baseline tired, and then boom, you're hitting a wall
Oh,
because you're
after
working
every
next.
semester, I would just knock out for like 3 or 4 days in
Yeah.
college.
And I think, like, and I got sick a lot. Like, I mean, just my GI system was always out of whack. And had days where I would just throw up all day, and it was bad. I think that I would describe the fatigue. I think for me it was most pronounced after my hospitalization in November. Like, I mean, I was depressed, which didn't help the situation, and I was really really tired, and I didn't want to talk to people, and I really just didn't feel like I had the energy to interact in a way that was meaningful. And I felt like, and this is not anybody's fault, I think I felt like I was expected to be better
Oh
than I
yeah.
was. And I didn't want to talk to people because I would either have to live up to that expectation and pretend that I was feeling okay mentally and that I wasn't as exhausted as I was, or I'd have to reveal that, like, I really don't want to talk right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I was really stuck with that. I've had, so I guess to answer that question, I would describe the chronic fatigue for me as like this kind of, I liked the way that you described it as lurking tiredness. Like even now, I just feel it in my
Like a little
eyes. I feel
shadow,
it.
yeah.
Yeah, like I feel it in my eyes, I feel it in my body. And I, if I'm having a good, like my good days are just, keep going. Body emotion stays in motion. And if I can continue to keep it in motion, I'm good until I crash.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think it's the same. I think that it's been that way through most of my life. And I've had like, even on high energy days where I mean, I'm generally like, people see me as a high energy person,
Mm-hmm.
and I am. But in the background, I'm like, oh, my eyes are always tired. I'm always ready for a nap. If I sit on a couch to watch TV, I'm out.
Yeah.
And I don't think that it's got worse as I got older, but it was definitely more pronounced after this medical event.
Mm-mm. Okay.
How about you?
Yeah. Mine has been pretty bad my whole life. Even when I was a kid, like I would be tired. I would sleep. Like I remember, I mean, yeah, I know that I wasn't hyper. I remember I would just kind of like lay there and watch TV.
Mm,
But yeah, hold on, let me think.
okay.
Like, how would I explain it to people? The biggest way that we started explaining it to people was, have you guys heard of the spoon theory?
Yes.
Yeah, we had come across that story a long time ago. And so that's how we would start explaining it to people. More like when I was kind of in high school, where you have a set of spoons every day, and different tasks of the day, are a different amount of spoons. So like say cooking is 3 spoons, or
Hmm.
going for a walk is 4 spoons, and then you can run out of your spoons so fast and you're just done for the rest of the day. And
Yeah.
that was the how we would explain it to people, like, I don't have enough spoons
Yeah.
anymore, or that was kind of the easiest way to put it, because people don't understand fatigue at
Yeah.
all.
And
And
it's
it's
a hard
something.
thing to, I think, get across to people who haven't felt it.
Exactly. And the way that I can explain it too is like when somebody is feeling tired, like after a long work day where they're just kind of achy, that is how I feel on a daily basis, like on a
Right.
baseline. And if I see a bed, I'm going to it. And my body just loves and needs all the rest.
Hmm.
And I think it has gotten worse as I've gotten older. I do I have learned that I need to listen to my body when I'm fatigued. So absolutely like take the rest that I need and take the naps. Like
Yeah.
before, I wouldn't miss any like school or anything unless I absolutely needed to, if I was in the hospital or something. But once I started work, if I was super fatigued, I would take that time to just like be
Yeah.
in bed all day, take that mental health day. And that helps a lot, because I've noticed that if I just have a day where I'm completely in bed all day and just sleeping, I wake up the next day feeling a lot better. But then my problem is I have energy and then I use it all,
Yeah.
and then I crash and burn. Like the
Yes.
computer software stops, application stop working. That's what happens to me.
Yeah.
So it's to explain it to people, spoon theory, I think, is the best, like kind of visual and something for people to wrap their heads around. And then for the person who has it, I just really got to honor their rest. And I have my bodyguard mom, my mama bear, who after all the hospitalizations, she's like, Bella's too tired, Bella's too tired, Bella's too tired.
Yeah.
And people knew to kind of just either go through my mom, or I had a lot of people reach out and say, I didn't want to reach out to you and bother you. And it's not that I was getting bothered. It's just that I didn't have the energy to even text or talk to
Right.
people. And so I think, Jackie, if you guys have kids, you could be very protective of their time, and listening to them, and just explaining to people, what's going on with her body a little bit. Like for family parties and stuff, if I stay home, my family completely gets it, because they know,
Yeah.
they're like, oh, absolutely, or come over and we still have a room for you to nap in. Like,
Yeah.
it's things like that. So having that support will be super helpful for her.
Hmm. Jake says, imagine having two full-time jobs.
I can't imagine having kids. I can't imagine cooking every day. Like, hello. But I think this was really good
Yes.
conversation. And there's so much more to unpack still.
Oh, for sure. And that's why we're going to have another live stream
We are in a
in
month.
May. Yeah, first Saturday of the month,
We're
right?
back to our first Saturdays,
Yeah.
so health willing.
Yeah, you
Yes,
can catch the replay.
you can catch the replay and then you can catch us next month. We're gonna be
Yeah,
back to our regular schedule, so you don't have to question if and when we'll be back unless,
right. Unless something
health
comes up.
decides.
Right. So we'll be back first Saturday of the month, at noon Central, 1 Eastern, 10 o'clock Pacific time. If you're somewhere else
Specific
in the world, you've got to,
time
check
converter.
out when that is. Yeah. And oh, thank you so much for the
Thank
comment about the
you.
scans. Bella, I hope your scans go well.
Same for you.
Thank you.
Big news. We're gonna have to
Yeah. Keep
FaceTime.
me updated. Yeah. Do
Yeah.
you want to plug anything that you're doing in the meantime before
Yes.
May?
And I've been
Okay.
meaning to post this into the group, but we are going to start a new project that I want to launch with Investigator. And I mean, VEDS is one. I know.
That's just one full-time job and then the other
Yeah.
full-time
That's what I'm
job.
saying.
So, yep.
I cannot do that. So you agree. Uh, So I'm still workshopping the title, but I think I've
Okay.
settled with Compassion Matters.
Mm-hmm.
And we would like for people to submit stories, experiences that they've had with medical professionals, whether they're positive, they're negative. If you want to you know, um, put one of your great doctors in the spotlight and share how they helped you, how they helped your kid, your family member, or you want to just put somebody that wasn't helpful and that made your experience worse, and just share your story, and Katie and I will read them together. We'll record our reactions to reading these stories. The whole point of it is we want to increase awareness not only for these medical conditions. It doesn't have to be VEDS only. Like anybody who's had any of these experiences can share. I'll be posting links soon, but we want to show the healthcare field how patients are affected
Yeah.
by good and bad stories. And so I really want to push that out there because I know that we've had a lot of crazy stories about, not being listened to, not feeling heard,
Mm-hmm.
being brushed off, dismissed. But we've also had really great stories where there's these once in a lifetime doctors and they deserve to, be praised. So thank
Bella,
you.
yeah, Bella has not posted the link to that yet, but I think you're going to be
I
posting
think
that on your investigator channel.
yes.
Okay.
So I'll share it for you. I'll tag you so you can share it too.
Hey, thanks, Alexandra. I'm so glad that you're getting support through that.
Welcome.
And
We're glad to
yeah,
have you here. So, yes, there'll be
that's
more
great.
info about that coming out, and I'll post the link probably on our next live also.
Okay, perfect.
I'm really excited about this project.
Yes,
So,
that's awesome.
yeah, it'll be like a little mini series or something. I don't know.
Hmm.
I just envision like the Travis Kelsey and Jason Kelsey, how they talk, and that's going to be what we're going to do, but for this.
I can't wait. It'll be great.
Okay,
And I
well,
have a couple plugs before we leave
oh,
too.
okay, yes.
So the Staying Connected podcast, we're in season 8 right now. I think that we are 3 episodes in. The episode that went live today is from Ronania, who has family members with VEDS and lost her brother and her father to VEDS too. So if you're interested in that, go and check it out. I do have the video, like just audio on YouTube for those that need the automatic translation service. But the easiest way to listen to it is by searching for Staying Connected on whatever podcast player you use, whether that's Apple Podcasts or I think Google Play or Spotify. You can find it on a whole bunch of different apps. So that's out there. Take a listen. There's a few more episodes this season, and that will take us into May. The other thing I wanted to plug is that it's not out yet, but my brother and I are starting a podcast called By Its Cover, where we're going to be picking out books by their covers and talking about whether or not they kind of met our
Ooh,
needs
I like
for
that.
when we picked out our book or met our expectations. And that's kind of like a fun thing that's going on in my life
I love that.
outside of VEDS. And if you're interested in, I think I got a lot of positive feedback about the interview with Jake and I that we did last season, and we'll be doing another one for this season since so much has changed since that interview in October.
Yeah,
But yeah, if you want to support us or listen to us laugh and make jokes,
love
I'll be
it.
posting that on my social media soon when it goes live.
Listen to how cheesy
Yes.
your brother is.
Yeah, so
Yeah, it
those are
does
my
sound
plugs.
fun. Okay. You have such
I'm
a
so
radio
excited.
voice. Like you have such a host voice.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Alexandra says, I'm French and live in France, diagnosed with VEDS officially in 2024 after a kidney artery
Mm.
dissection in September 2022. I had the opportunity to attend an educative program on VEDS. Do I have social media? I'm guessing for the podcast. I do. So you can follow Staying Connected on Facebook. I think it's at Staying Connected. It might be at Staying Connected VEDS or at Staying Connected Podcast. But I do post it on my regular, like, Facebook too.
10 days ago?
Oh, Naya.
I'm so sorry, Nia. Also, Alexandra, I'm sorry to hear about your diagnosis.
Yeah,
I know that hopefully you've been to the center in Paris. I know that there's
huge center.
a center for VEDS over there. That'd be a great resource for you, and you should be in great hands over there.
Yeah, if you're
And
not
welcome to
seeing.
our family, even though it's
Yes.
hopefully we didn't scare you.
Right. I mean, this was a heavy live stream.
Yeah.
I mean, we both had events very recently, and
And it's like when things hit with VEDS, they hit.
oh yeah,
And it's never just one person. Like the whole there was a perforation before me just a few months before, and other artery dissections, organ ruptures around the same time as us. So it's a lot to go through when you're already going through something yourself, but to know that like, another vet's a family member is going through something, it's really hard. But thinking about the other people who have been through what we've been through or going through like better or worse things, that helps me get through it because I know that, others have pushed on and it just really helps.
yeah, it does. Alexander, I'm so glad that you did meet the French team through that program. That's awesome. I like the I stay connected. That's really
That's
cute.
so cute.
All right, so
All
I think
right.
we
We're
should
pretty
end
over
it there.
time. Yeah.
Yes, thank you so much, everybody, for joining. Thanks, Caitlin. I can't wait for you to listen. It'll be a lot of fun. Oh, there's Ro. That was her episode that went live today.
Oh, you have a good weekend.
Yes, I hope you guys all have a good weekend, and we will
So
see
happy to
you.
see everybody.
And no, it's been so great coming back after. I mean, our last live stream was on the day of my kidney infarction on November 4th.
So
It's
much
been
has
months.
happened in that time.
Yes.
You too, Mara.
All right.
All
Thank you,
right. Catch y'all
everybody.
next month.
Bye. Gotta remember how to